This is the real concrete jungle.
Where I'm from, yeah. I'm from a concrete jungle in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
The concrete jungle.
Welcome to the Concrete Jungle Podcast, in-depth artist interviews, where we'll be diving a little deeper with some of your favorite artists from all around the world and introduce you to some dope people you never knew you needed to know. Shout out to Island City Media Group for bringing you the Concrete Jungle every Wednesday, 8 to 10 p.m. California, Fresh Coast, West Coast time. Make sure y'all tap in, download that Dash Radio app. We're streaming live music 24/7. Tonight, we got a dope treat with a hip-hop beat. This young queen's been holding it down from the malu to the crown. She's a spitter like a true spitter, an MC with the true hip-hop elements, y'all. Her infusion from our Samoan culture to our hip-hop culture is definitely admirable, to say the least. Please welcome to the Concrete Jungle, from KENZIE out there, yo. We got the fams, KENZIE from WELLY up in the building, y'all.
The Concrete Jungle.
That is probably the best introduction that I have ever had. That was amazing. Oh, damn.
Thank you, fans. You know what I'm saying? I like to, show love, especially to my fellow MCs who put in that work for the culture. How you doing, sis?
I'm impressed. Well, first of all, we're speaking from the future. Obviously, we're here. I'm in New Zealand, and I live in the country, so I'm surrounded by birds and mountains and rivers, and it's a beautiful day. I ain't got nothing to complain about.
Man, take us on the trip real quick, because we are broadcasting live and direct from Hollywood, California. We over here talking to the family over here in New Zealand. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's catch us up real quick. Let everyone in, you know what I'm saying? Because this is the podcast. We first caught up with you, I'd say a little way over a year ago, right? Up in Dash Studios. And you were down here doing some work and kind of promoting some music and connecting with some producers while you were out here. Catch us up, what you've been up to, and draw us in. Introduce everybody to the queen that we all know, or that I know, cool, that everybody's introduced to.
Yeah, man. Last time I came out was amazing. So I was basically finishing up the album, and the first single that we just dropped, Words to Your Mother, that's just come off the album that I finished when I was over in LA. So since LA, went back to Brisbane. I was staying in Brisbane. I'd been there for like 8 years. Love it there. It's like my other home. Aotearoa, Samoa, Brisbane, other places that I definitely consider home. I was working a 9 to 5, and I was still kind of finalizing the deal with the label that I jumped on board, which is Forever Ever Records and Sony. And I was just like, I did some like kind of healing and some retreats and stuff, and I was like, look, this 9 to 5 ain't for me. Hey, so and COVID came through and just solidified, with the restrictions of not being able to get back and forth. I got to go home and be with the fam, you know what I mean? So everything just kind of aligned, got to come home and do music full time, and here we are, man.
Man, yo, that's real. With the whole pandemic kind of taking over at that point, what's the biggest takeaway from that during the whole pandemic situation?
I guess for me, like, one thing that I'm still trying to work on is being okay with things you can't control. So, we had like a whole rollout plan for the album, singles, videos, and everything. And as the restrictions kind of limited movement and I couldn't access the resources and travel, each hit started taking the toll. And I was like, oh, like usually I have a bit more resilience to this. And then I had to chill out and be like, look, it's all right. I can't control that. And look, I knew that in my mind, but to be, knowing that in your heart and, continue to roll with the punches and even try and innovate. I think that was, if you can't do it like that, try to innovate and try to do it some other way. You know what I mean?
That's true. Definitely. And I think that shows a lot about us hip hop artists, is that you kind of box us into one corner. We'll just kind of create ourselves out of that, or draw a situation where we're accommodating, the circumstance. Yeah. So like, for instance, the podcast that we're in now, you know what I'm saying? When I first met up with you up in the studio, this was a radio show that we just wanted to use as a platform. to get these artists out here and connect the bridge from we're all spread out from. And then we've evolved into like, all right, what are we going to do now? Quarantined, got kind of cut off from the studio. Our studio was completely shut off. So so we had to figure out something else. So I said, hey, birth of the podcast, you know what I'm saying? The beauty of technology.
You know exactly where I'm coming from then, bro. Like, you created a whole nother platform in order to still continue giving Pacifica people, a space to share from their firsthand, live and direct, I guess,
Definitely, yo. And let's speak on that real quick, because I love how I learned a lot from the artists from New Zealand, such as yourself, the Uso Poetic, Base 685, like all of these Usos, they have a lot of great input, and I love that they're current nowadays. Where do you see the movement of hip hop moving from your side of the world? How are we moving over there? How's it looking?
I think for us, so as you well know, Poetics, my cousin, same last name, Parker, for we always kind of
shout out to the Usos.
Yeah, shout out to the brother. He's all right. He's good. We always kind of focus on what we were doing, because that way we could build as a family. And obviously, because we grew up together, we have a lot of the same foundations. I guess one of the main things for us was unified Pacifica. Especially with street things and gang things, and I won't specifically talk on that. There's a lot of friction and hostility at times, and it's kind of heartbreaking to have family on each end. So we really wanted to use this music as a vehicle for unification, like of all our Pacifica and Indigenous people everywhere. So I guess for us, it's that. It's like, if we can continue to move forward as far as uniting, as far as opening minds and hearts to maybe things that people ain't even heard from where they lived at. I know for me, that's always been the goal, like just grow with us.
Definitely. What's it feel like being, what I'm saying, in this hip hop lane and being able to influence those young Samoan queens who have yet to be introduced to hip hop, and like I said, when I was putting this show together, trying to write a description of you, I'm like, this is literally the first, not only just female spitter that I got on my podcast right here, but you are Samoan descent. Like, this speaks so heavily to me, you know what I'm saying, sis? Because like, we don't have a lot of females that get recognition as it is, but for you to be a woman of Samoan descent, you know what I'm saying, lady of Pacifica, you know what I'm saying, what does it feel like to be able to influence those young Samoan, Polynesian, Tongan, Hawaiian queens out there?
Honestly, like, I think that being an MC has so much alignment with being a Pacifica woman, because when you go home, who's calling the shots when the doors is closed? Your mom's telling you when it's time to eat. She's telling you when it's time to do this, that, and the third. And so we're used to really having like an authority, nurturing feminine voice. So I honestly feel like it's second nature. Yes, sometimes public face meant that women had certain jobs and men had certain jobs, and should look or this a certain way, but breaking it right down past the public stuff, I really feel like strong woman is where we know that it's nothing new to us. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Some of our biggest, the people in our ears is our older girl cousins and sisters, like, hey, pulling us up. When you ain't listening to your homies, your sisters like, hey, get home now.
And another truth to like some of our culture is, you see a lot of memes and a lot of jokes being cracked about us, Usos in the family and the brothers who are overprotective, but it goes both ways. Because the sisters are just as overprotective. They're checking everybody at the door. They're making sure whoever's coming around, their brother and the family, you know what I mean, is acting right and accordingly.
Exactly. So I think it's so relevant, bro, honestly.
That's dope, yo. So you saying like you get to enjoy nature, like true nature. You up with the winds of the beautiful mountains, the trees
Yeah,
surrounded over there. I'm literally in the
yeah,
concrete jungle trying to see a
yeah.
rose petal crack through the surface sometimes.
Well, lucky
Yo,
you used to innovation. Um, being
so
here,
how
so
often do you get to go to home in Samoa?
well, my mom is Maori, so that's indigenous to New Zealand, and then my father, he's Samoan. So I haven't been back to Samoa in a couple years now. Last time me and Poetic went back, but for me, I was born in Aotearoa. I did grow up in Samoa as well, but back and forth like that. But I've been reconnecting with my Maori culture, which is Te Ao Maori, and there's so many similarities and differences. I think one of the really cool things about Te Ao Maori is, it's a little less. They didn't embrace the religion side of things so much, so there are still quite a lot of the traditions that are still steadfast and held down out here.
Wow, that's interesting. So, okay,
Mm,
nice. So you are Afghani, and
mm,
that's dope. Could you share with us something that we probably
mm.
don't know about the Maori culture?
Maori culture. Let's see. Well, for me, growing up here, I guess a lot of the differences were pointed out, as it is, say, for someone to move to the States, you kind of, even though you grew up there, sometimes I guess there'll be feelings of, I'm really from here if you're the minority and that kind of thing. Um, Gladly in Aotearoa, Maori being the indigenous people, the grounding was enough to hold me down. Being Samoan though, and going to Samoa and kind of getting to know a little bit more about my roots there was definitely something that was the most special times, because growing up away from home, sometimes when you go back to the traditional things, you can feel a little off. You can start to question your identity. So I just want to say, like, we can't quantify our identity just because you grow up here or here, or you're not full or this or that. You are what you are, and your blood stays that. You know what I mean? So I guess I'm just trying to, for me, just make sure that all the conditioned things that try to, I guess, make us question our identity, I can try and replace those with a lot of the essence of our true culture. And this is the learning journey that I'm on now.
That's dope. That is
Mm,
dope. Growing up with both cultures, Maori and Samoan, did you
mm.
have any kind of struggle with that growing up in New Zealand?
Yeah, like when I was at primary school, so they'll be like, 5, 6 years old, go to the playground. And this was way back then. So they'll be like, hey, you want to be Samoan today? Come play with us. Hey, you want to be Maori today? Come play with us. Whereas my little brother's coming up, everyone was more mixed. You know what I mean? So that it was just like, oh, you got same color, skin color as me. We all good. We same. You know what I mean? So, but hey, kids be kids. You know what I mean? And
That's what's
again,
up.
trying to reteach the things that we don't want to hold that ain't serving us no more. You know what I mean?
Man, that's what's up. So how does the hip hop find its way to you growing up in the Samoan community?
Well, that's a great question. So you mentioned being mixed race. Um, Hip hop didn't make me choose which one I wanted to be. It was very easy, I think, for a lot of us who were searching for identity to be like, oh man, this is like a rebellious energy, but it's also, it's got some knowledge in it, but it's got some aggression. And a lot of the confusion was kind of aligned with hip hop in that way. So it's like I adopted their culture because growing up in New Zealand, we didn't have people that looked like us on TV. The closest thing that we had were African Americans, which we resonated with. So it was like, they the closest thing that looks like us. Oh, yo, that we saw ourselves in them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
And then
that's
I think
real.
that's why it's important for us now to be able to tell our story our way using the sounds that kind of resonate with us, because You know, it's very important for the young ones to be able to see themselves in all avenues, so that they're not limited in their minds as to where they can go. Do you know what I mean?
Definitely. Speaking about the young ones and how they need to be able to uh, see things on a limitless level,
Mm.
I'm curious to know, as you were speaking about kind of growing up, you know, in the more younger years,
Mm.
what is like New Zealand's education, like the curriculum, like? Is it good at all? Like, how is it? I've never
Um,
experienced or really had enough conversations about it.
we got pros and cons. So back in the 80s, we had Ngā Tamatoa, which was an activist movement, which had people like Tamaiti, Whina Cooper. They wanted to have Māori recognized as, you know, as a language here, a national language in New Zealand, because in the 70s, 60s, and before, Te Reo Māori was banned. We were not allowed to speak our language in schools. If you're a children, you used to get punished.
Wow.
The language was absolutely banned. So there was a resurgence kind of coming through in the 70s and 80s, and they were able to not only get it recognized, but also have the language being taught in schools and like kindergarten age, which is kohanga reo. So that there has definitely been like a renaissance of sorts in building up our language and culture. That's the positive. On the flip side, a lot of the curriculum's still white, and the way that they teach, like education systems around the world, is very institutional.
Yeah.
So a lot of us as people, you know, we are kinesthetic learners. We need to be doing to understand how to do, like, you know, so it sinks in. Maybe not just like in a classroom environment, that doesn't work for everybody, and that's where we see, for me anyway, I don't really mess with that so much, you know. It didn't work for me, and I know it didn't work for so many of our people, the classroom environment.
Definitely.
Mm.
I'd like to ask because, you know, you're like a true writer. I could tell by the lyrics and the music you put out. So I was just kind of wondering, like, whenever someone is that, you know, intelligent
Yeah.
on that music level, I always like to see the education background, because I know for a fact, just like how you just dissected that beautifully.
Yeah.
You know
Thanks,
what I'm
bro.
saying? So
Yeah.
that's pretty dope. You know what I mean? What are you hoping to bring to the game with the music in order to impact it? You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like you have something unique, sis. You
Mm.
know, so
Thank
like,
you.
how are you hoping to impact the game as it is?
I'll be honest, like, I really want to use music as a vehicle for living and manifesting, from, you know. So someone might not necessarily gel with some of the lyrics, but they might really feel the energy, or someone might be on the flip side. For me, I just want to be able to write, get out what I need to, and the music kind of, in some parts, hold me accountable for the things that I'd be saying, because I just want to make sure that I'm transparent about who I want to become as well. And that's what I meant when I said before that I hope people grow with me, because I don't know everything, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just learning little by little. So, you know, come with me. Let's learn together. Let's go on a journey, you know?
The show. What do you feel like one of the biggest responsibilities being an artist?
Um, well, with me and my friends, so a lot of my friends do different kind of art, visual art, whether it's painting, whether it's whatever, film, comedians, whatever. And especially during this pandemic, we were talking, and I was like, man, I really want to make art, because we need beautiful things to counterbalance the ugly shit that's going on. Do you know what I mean?
Yes,
We're
yes.
so fed with so much negativity, just to let us breathe a bit, you know what I mean? And oh, there's something beautiful, and remind us that what beauty feels like, what it sounds like, what it looks like, and what it looks like through our lenses, you know, not what Western beauty standard looks like, but what we feel like beauty feels like and looks like. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, we are the only ones that can tell our story. And I
Yeah.
agree with you 1,000%. You
Yeah.
know, and you know, speaking of the art, so what else do? You paint, you sculpt, what is it?
No, that's my homies. Like, for me, I'm more a writer. I like writing. So whether that's songs or anything else, You know, I like later on I want to write books and all that kind of stuff. But it's just being, I don't know if you know, like you're a creative person and you've been around many a creative people. Just say if you're just chopping it up, whether it's on the phone or in the room, someone has an idea, another idea, another idea, another idea. Just being able to create that community of like the spark that keeps the creativity flowing. Like that's
Nice.
what I love. You know what I mean? That's what I love. Yeah.
Nice. That's the cipher right there.
Yeah, that is, bro. Exactly. That is.
Exactly. I love that. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of the cipher, yo, I can't get away from the fact that we have a true spitter with us today. You know, let's talk about that new project. You know, the visual you put out. You have the For Us By Us. I thought that was pretty dope. You know what I'm saying? So that was the follow-up from the video. I know you have the, let's see here, a Word to Your Mother. So take us a bit right there. Let's talk about that project, Word to Your Mother.
Okay. So Word to Your Mother is the single that I just dropped. Basically, a lyric video came out. So this is another COVID thing. So we had like videographers and a video and all that lined up. I couldn't travel. So I was like, you know, feeling a little bit discouraged. I called up Poetic and I was like, man, blah, blah, blah. He's like, hey, don't feel discouraged. That's a poison. It's going to eat you. And honestly, it flipped me right back. I was like, bro, you know, you're right. Like, don't start feeling sorry for yourself now. So we put this lyric video out. It was what it was. And then we got 2 more singles following that, and then the album. So the Word to Your Mother song, the background behind it was I had my homie Troy come over to Brisbane. He lives in LA. He's a producer. He's signed to No Expectations. And I was just like, bro, come hang out. I know on the bro since he was 16. He's Cook Island. We're just like, let's just see what happens. You know, there was no like planning of nothing. And then he sat down first night. He made 17 beats just right on the spot. And I was like, oh,
nice.
Yeah. So, bro,
that's
like,
a luxury.
After 10 days, we made a full album back to back, like just right on the spot.
How long?
10 days. So
whoa, nice.
Everything from scratch. 10 songs. We made 11 songs, but 10 songs made the album. Word to Your Mother was made somewhere in the middle. So it's basically the vibe of like free drinks with your craziest friend, or when you're in the locker room trying to get G'd up for a game. It's just like we were in the middle of making something that we knew was going to be dope, and it's kind of like a preparation, like the mental win before you know that you know the win's going to come. So that's how come it's so like kind of aggressive and high energy, because we was just like hype of being like, we're like, oh, this is making itself.
Yeah, I was vibing to it when I was listening. I was like, oh, Word to Your Mother, I never coming down. I was like, okay. And then when the verses kick in, I was like, oh, she kept the energy. Oh shit, okay. Okay, so I'm definitely feeling it, yo. It's resonating all the way over here in California, yo. So that's pretty dope. Let's talk about the album. What's the name of the album? Do we have a name yet?
Yeah, we got a name, we got everything, but you know, the process. I gotta trust the process. So things is gonna come out little by little, and we'll be releasing, you know, we'll be releasing a little bit more about what the album's called as we go. Do you know what I mean?
Nice.
Yeah.
So
I'll obviously keep you in the loop, for real. I'll keep you in the loop.
You gotta keep us in the loop. Concrete Jungle gotta be front row center to this whole. You know,
last time I was over there, I was with Ryzen bumping some of the album in his car. Like,
man, I'm telling you, because you know the music that we have. You know what I'm saying? What's that one? Check the Flow. Man, you have a lot of dope. Just you know what I'm saying?
All that
I need
was
more.
Okay. All that stuff was okay. Like, I was mixtape things, but this is the first album that I've made. Like, just before that, it was like making mixtapes and trying to get my footing and does it sound like what's in my head? So it's like almost, and then the album came through and I was like, yes, here we go, start here. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
I explain that to a lot of producers when I'm talking to them. It's like, they'll ask me like, well, what do you want? Well, what do you want to hear? I'm like, I don't know. You got to show me what I want. You know what I'm saying? Like, you kind of like were explaining that moment to me. Explain that feeling, how you're talking about the album's getting created. You're like, no, hold up. What's that feeling like?
Well, I mean, that was me creating the mixtapes, was like me in my room putting songs together, and it's like, okay, yeah, it almost feels like that. It almost feels like that. So when Troy came over, who's the producer, and he just made the money beats just right there. And I was just like, because he's known me for so long, he was able to bring stuff out of me that I wouldn't usually make on my own. And that's the beauty of collaboration. You know what I mean? So I'll just be like, oh, I want something that feels like a zipper, like a bag, or you're opening something, or like coins, just real crazy like requests, like of what I want a feeling or a sound to be. It's like, yo fam, got you. You know what I mean? And he's like goes to his thing and just like does something up, and I was like, oh, you got it every time, man. Every time. Yeah.
Man, see, that's dope when you can bring the MC and the producer together, you know what I'm saying? And then you got a dope engineer on top of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, that's the team right there,
Yeah.
Yo, speaking of the Uso and stuff, I wanted to say this because I did ask my Us when he was on the show with us for Wedding, and he has nothing but high regards for you and the rest of the fams out there. What's it like being able to share big stages, you know what I'm saying, with your family in a sense of hip hop? You know what I'm saying?
Oh man, honestly, it's like being at home in the garage hanging, because when I'm on stage with my brother, it's safe. You know what I mean? Then we just get to have fun, let loose, and share energy with people. And coming through like with industry things, met like people here and there who maybe weren't as sincere as they might have put out there. So having him with me too is like nothing else, bro. They say don't mix business and family, but I couldn't be doing this without him, because not only is he like inspire me by the art that he creates, but we also keep each other on a level. Do you know what I mean? Like mentally and spiritually, you be out there and whether it's ego things, where it's like, bro, relax, man. Or what have you, he's got a family too, so it's like making sure, like we talked about sister roles type of thing, making sure everything's kosher wherever we go at, if anyone's listening.
Like,
exactly that. Yeah, so it's amazing, because we didn't think when we were little we could do this. A lot of our family sing Samoan music. My uncle Richard Parker, and my uncle Dave Parker. They sing Samoan music, and we were very, very shy to our family about doing rap, because it's like, what's that rubbish? But they have come around. They've come around because they really understood what it did for us as people, as individuals and as a people. I think they started to see us change and grow, and the energy started to be, more redirected into something that was beneficial and positive, instead of having so much pent up, chaos internally. Yeah.
Man, speak about that real quick. And speaking on that level of having so much pent up and that chaos, and I feel like we haven't even talked about it, but you talked about it. I feel like your music is really healing, and it's really necessary in our culture, because certain things like mental health, issues that we might be having, we don't talk about it in our culture. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like you as an artist, and the message that you're pushing, you're opening up these doors to have different conversations. Any thoughts about anyone that might be in that situation of mental health, and your thoughts about that? Or people don't speak about it sometimes.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I was really, really fortunate to have parents who are really open to communication in all aspects, talking on things like mental health and spiritual health, and holistically looking at everything as a whole. I know culturally, especially, in Samoan culture, there's public face and then there's private face. And a lot of the times, yeah, we understand our positions, but our public faces sometimes don't necessarily reflect how we are internally. So, okay, it's about creating small communities, so that we can ensure that we're lifting each other up when we're needed to. Um, Perhaps, you've got certain roles or responsibilities publicly in your family or in your church or in your community. I get that. I'm not saying go out and tear some stuff up. What I'm saying is build these groups if you can possibly do that, so that we are, like you said, creating a dialogue. We're talking it out, even acknowledging that these things exist, because if we just keep suppressing, it's just going to stay. Our bodies remember that. You know what I mean? We're made up of like what, 70% water. Water holds memory. We don't want to carry that with us, and we don't want to pass it on to the generations, through the way we are, behave, or in our DNA. So it's about trying to break these things down so that the kids have a cleaner slate than we got. You know what I mean?
That's what's up. See, sis,
Yeah.
you dope. That's what I'm talking about. This is what Concrete Jungle, we bring the dopest people from all around the world together so that we can create this community. You know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
bigger than
exactly.
hip hop, yo. It is bigger
Yeah.
than hip hop. And the dope
Yeah.
part about it is that we are hip hop heads. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love that. I love that you're able to like really connect and speak on a relative term to it, because we don't have that dialogue going on. And shout out to
Yeah.
mom and pops for being able to
Yeah.
have that dialogue in your household,
For real.
and just big up, much love and respect for that. And I wanted to speak on something too, because I did see, with all due respect, you have one of our most traditional malus, you're representing. Let's talk about that real quick. Let's bring the audience in. Let's talk
Okay.
about that traditional high chief, like, just regard, man, you did something so dope. I want you to just introduce it to the Concrete Jungle and take us into how that felt, that moment, being able to experience that.
Yeah. Well, what it was so I was Poetic Soul. So he had been thinking of getting his bail, Songamiki or Malufie, for a while. And my granddad's sister at the time, which is like his other mom, was really encouraging of him, was like, yep, okay, you're ready. We're going to, tee this up, and this is going to be your next chapter moving forward. He was supposed to get it with my other cousin, and my other cousin, he was like, nah, I ain't ready. And then so my auntie was like, okay, like, you're ready. To myself, it's not something that I always admired it. I saw it and thought it was something beautiful, but it wasn't necessarily something that I wanted to carry myself. And a lot of it was based around my insecurities of being enough, my insecurities of being, mixed race, my insecurities of so many things. So, and even, having proficient language, all of these are things which were playing over in my mind. And, she kind of said to me, in our family, there are ways of doing things. And, malu, like malu is like the umbrella, the way that you are and the things that you do within our family already exhibit what I believe it means to carry and wear the malu. So I was quite taken back and emotional about that. And she was a little ill, so I was like, okay, out of respect, she was, like I said, she was my granddad's sister, the matriarch of our family, and I had so much respect for her. So I said, look, if you think that I'm ready, then I believe you, and I will go through this journey with Poetic. So, in preparation, we just were trying to get our spirits right. We just, I'm not saying what we did is the blueprint of what you should do, but the way that we prepared is we just made sure that we're around love. We weren't drinking or doing other substances or anything like that, and just trying to get into a space where we could fully be present for the journey that we were about to go through. And then we flew back to Samoa, and his dad was there. His dad lives in Samoa, and he he took us to the spot where we were about to get guard. And it was Suasula Peter that was the tufunga for us, and he was actually the stretcher or the goso for my granddad's other sister.
Oh,
So
nice.
yeah, the way it worked out was, lineage, it kind of, we related and aligned. And then his dad was there, who's the triple OG,
Man.
and he was there with my uncle. So we really felt that the elders, we had got the blessings from the elders way before we even considered anything for ourselves, because it was very important for us to do that. He took 10 days, Trey, Poetic, he took 10 days in total to go through his, the full journey. Usually it takes about 12 sessions, give or take, you know what I mean? Also in Samoa, it's very, very hot. It's outside, so you sweat, and that all plays a factor on your body's controlling the temperature, the pain, all in things. So I was supposed to go after him, but I had realized, I asked if I could go maybe 3 sessions in, because I wanted to feel some of the pain, so that I could support him. And let me tell you, bro, like going through the journey with somebody in that way, like being like in the saw, we were already tight, but there was the bond, like just deepened tenfold. It's like you're sharing that pain and spiritual space. It's like, yo, I got you forever, you know what I mean?
Man.
So yeah, before I was just like waving the fan a little bit. After I got mine, I was like, yo, you good, bro? You need anything? Like, because I understood what the O felt like after that. I turned my support
Man,
level up like by 900, man, straight up.
that's beautiful, man. That
Yeah,
is some special, yo. Seriously, man.
yeah.
That's dope, and so I have a question that I think some of our viewers might be asking.
Mhm.
So with the malu, is it something that you can get on your own, or is it something that like the family kind of has to bestow upon you? Like,
Mm.
how does that work?
I can only say from my own experience, because it, like anything cultural, there are different interpretations. For me, it was not again, it wasn't something that I necessarily chose. My elders are the ones that gave me the blessing and also the nudge to say that I was enough to get it. And then from then, it was a promise. Okay, wearing the malu was a promise of my responsibility, the promise of my responsibility to my family, to my culture, and what I plan to pass on after me, and the way that I live now. Every day I wake up, I can see it on my legs, and I remember that promise that I made there. And just after the last step of the O, when I got up, it was such a, a elating experience. Like my whole self felt so light. I felt like I had let go of so much that I'd been carrying. I'm sure there might have been a lot of baggage from, lack of self-worth and all these things culturally, especially not living and growing up the whole time in Samoa and all these kinds of things. But yeah, there was so much that I was able to release. And it was definitely one of the greatest experiences I've ever had in my life.
Man, that's so dope. Yo, so what can we do? What would you say we could do as our part to help preserve the Samoan or Fa Samoa culture? What could we do to help that?
It's a tough one for people who don't have elders around who keep knowledge. It's really
True.
tough, because there are things that you can search on the internet. However, not only are sometimes they're not correct, but sometimes the way that knowledge was passed down before was the ones who kept the knowledge were able to deliver it to the right person in the right way. Now we're flooded with so much information on the internet, can be misconstrued in so many different ways. So that's why it's, you know, cautious. If
True.
you really want to seek, seek knowledge from your ancestry, if ever you can, it's best to go home back to Samoa and see if, if you don't have that in the home, see if you can reconnect. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised that going back, I think it can be quite daunting for some people. But I'm sure, if you have family, they'll be like, oh, your dad's brothers, cousins, auntie. And honestly, that's how it be. It's important for us. That's the price. The price is your pride. How much do you want the knowledge? Are you willing to put your pride on the line and step out, and maybe get laughed at? That's the price. It can be too much for some people.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm.
I know that for sure. I'm from Cali. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Born and raised over here in the States. I
yeah,
have yet to make it back home. So I understand that part. You know what I mean?
yeah,
There is a certain sense of disconnection, you know what I'm saying, from
yeah,
the homeland. But
yeah,
with our culture being so rich and deep with what we are just in our
yeah,
blood, it still stays intact. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
But I agree with you. And I do encourage you, like you were saying, and I'm taking that upon myself now that this pandemic's over. I need to make my way back
Yeah.
home, fams.
Yo,
You know what I'm
yo, for
saying?
real,
Like
for
that's
real.
just real. So like, yo, let's man, I can go on for days about this and stuff, like seriously, because I always take it as a learning experience for me because I love to soak up the energy from our brothers and sisters, overseas and stuff,
Yeah.
because I see the culture and the File Samoa energy, it's a bit more relevant, a lot more
Mm,
relevant, you know what I'm saying, over
mm.
there. It is over here, but like you said, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of influence being out here in America.
I
So
think just to touch on that too, bro, it's like in New Zealand, obviously hip hop is from America and we adopted so much of American culture because we really saw ourselves, in especially African American culture, not having brown people on the TV growing up. I think we've kind of come to a time now back here where we understand that Aotearoa is really the hub of the Pacific. And um, I can speak for myself as like gratitude and respect to the foundations of the hip hop culture in America 100, and also trying to figure out our way to make sure it's authentic and it is using what we have here to highlight and teach, as you mentioned, especially our, Pasifika brothers and sisters that are everywhere else. We kind of just stopped chasing the trends a little bit and started to, look closer to home in the way that we're putting our art together. And it's needed, as we search for ourselves back home. I know a lot of Pasifika people around the world are kind of looking around these ways to, to get schooled up with some things. So I think now, yeah, this is the time where we really want to build in that way, want to build in the learning and teaching and be able to share it with everybody.
definitely. And I say this, man, when I met the USA Poetic,
Mm.
at first sight, I was like, I felt like I was meeting my brother that I didn't get to meet. And I was kind of like upset, like, why don't I know you, bro? You know what
Yeah,
I mean? You ever met someone who was like, why don't we know each other, dog? You know
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying?
bro. Yeah,
You know? And that's just nothing but respect and love, especially, I love the way y'all represent, the artists from NZ out there to even
mm,
Australia, you know what I'm saying? Y'all
yeah,
represent with a whole pure heart of our culture on your sleeve,
mm.
like straight up, like, you know what I mean? Like you said, you with the LL Cool J throwback, hit them in their
Yeah.
mouth and don't apologize about it. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what it is. And I love that part, sis. You know what I'm
Yo,
saying?
and that was
And
homage exactly. You read that on point. That was homage to what America gave, to me as well. Like, okay, I could have stayed with this, chaos or torment, but along came, this vehicle or this gift is hip hop and music, and we've always been oral culture. We've always passed things on orally, in our culture. So it was very easy to adopt something of the time and have that as a continuation of the way we've always done things.
I need you to do a TED Talk hip hop like version of just like connecting like just cultures, like you have very deep like insights on things, and like I just want to hear you speak. Like I want you to make audios. And I know from like some of the team that works with us, shout out to my Uso Green, the fams out there. It's just like I could say it so many times, so many ways, and be like, but y'all accent, you say it one way, it's like, wow, that's very interesting.
Yes.
But I love it, man. You know what I'm saying? Speaking of interest and keeping us locked in, what's coming up in the future? I know you got the album that's about to be released. You're keeping us on edge with that, but make sure, we need that exclusive.
Yep.
What else
Album's
can we
on the way.
expect from KENZIE from WELLY?
2 singles on the way. Feature someone you know. I ain't gonna say who. Then the album. And then me and Poetic are gonna go on tour just in New Zealand at the moment, start of the year, because the borders are still very locked down out here. And then Shay Fu put me on his tour. Shay Fu's got the Navigator tour 20th anniversary. So touring with Poetic in March and Shay Fu in April, which would be fun. And honestly, we're hoping to come out there. Like once things are a little bit freer, we really want to come back out to Cali. Like we just honestly got love out there from you guys. Like it was like another little hub, another little.
That's right, y'all. Y'all heard it over here, exclusive on the Concrete Jungle, yo. We'll plug it up, Ooze. We'll make sure we get this to everybody up in the jungle, yo. I appreciate you, what I'm saying. Like, Green be talking about it, you know what I'm saying? And I be seeing my Uso, King Kapisi, diving into that water. I be like, Oos, dive in there again for me, because that shit look fresh as hell. Like, you know what I'm saying? Our beaches are dirty, so we can't do that.
True. But we still, go fishing and diving and get seafood straight out the water out here, bro. Like, for real.
See, I want to come out here. Like it sucks out here.
We're coming to bring energy and share love.
I need it. We need it. We need it. You are like exuding and radiating peace and love and healing energy. You're like a walking crystal. Like seriously.
On a good day, that's all it'll be about. Trust me.
Hey, yo, so I'm so happy that you came through, stopped through with the Concrete Jungle. Any words of wisdom, any parting words for all these hip hop heads out there, to those non-hip hop heads? Did you see what Kanye did? Let's not even go there. We got some culture vultures. Any parting words, any words of wisdom from KENZIE?
Honestly, the words are in the music and the words are already written. I just want everyone to be okay, be good, and if you can't be good, be okay. It's gonna get better. It'll be all right. And tell yourself, I think one of the main things for me is like keeping my self-talk, keeping it monitored. Because I remember like a couple of weeks ago, I was feeling a little bit funny, a little bit off, and I was like, what is it? I stopped, listened to my head, and I was like, yo, that doesn't sound like compassion. That doesn't sound like it, So it's like making sure it's okay, it's all right, yeah.
Nice. Just that quick little mental check with yourself.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Exactly.
I love it, man. See, we've covered so many bases just in this one interaction and conversation. You know what I'm saying? And I'm glad through the powers of technology, nothing glitched out or cut out, because I happened to lose an interview one time and we were deep into like 40 minutes. I was like, oh shit.
No, it's been perfect. It's been perfect, bro.
I
feel you guys' energy all the way out here. I mean, don't forget you're calling the future. We're the future, so I appreciate that.
Hey, see, so we have blasted the past, Thanks for coming back here and checking on us while things are going good in the future, family. You know what I'm saying? I wish you nothing but love, peace, success, yo. I want to give you your flowers. I want to give you your crown. Here's your crown. Wear your crown, queen. You know what I'm saying? And I just want to say thank you. You know what I'm saying? You always got a home here at Concrete Jungle. Keep doing what you're doing. Spread that love, spread that energy, and we need this. You know what I'm saying? It's not a matter if y'all coming down here in Cali. We need y'all here. You know what I'm saying? Make y'all way down here. Hit us up. Let us know what we could plug in. For all of y'all out there, plug into my family right here, yo. KENZIE, WELLY, all my peoples out there, yo. 684-685, yo, y'all running it over there, yo. And like I said, it's the Concrete Jungle, yo. We only bring you the hottest artists, yo. That's right, y'all. It is your Uso Devotion with the Concrete Jungle, chilling with New Zealand's very own KENZIE from WELLY up in the building, y'all.
This is the real Concrete Jungle.
This is KENZIE from WELLY. You're listening to Concrete Jungle with my fam Devotion. Yo.
The Concrete Jungle.